Tonight we're making a sausage chicken jambalaya. I have never ever made this before. It's from my brand new diabetes cookbook. So we're gonna give it a whirl and see what happens. This has chicken sausage, chicken tenders, chicken broth, celery, onion, long grain rice, diced tomatoes, thyme, Creole seasoning, and olive oil. So this is a one pot chicken meal. Everything will all go into the pot on the stove to cook. So I have already pre-chopped my celery and my onion, and I have pre-measured out my chicken broth and my rice. I'm gonna get started with my chicken. I'm gonna wash my hands first. Anytime you cook, you gotta wash your hands. I'm really excited to try this. I've never had chicken sausage before either, so this will be interesting. The recipe calls for 6 links that are 3 ounces each, but all I could find at the store were packages of 4. So that's what we have as package 4. We're gonna cut these links into 1/2-inch slices. So 1/2 inch, where's my measurement? 1/2 inch is about that. That's what I thought. Okay. It's easier if I make this way. I don't actually know what's in chicken sausage. Looks like veggies. And according to the package, this is from chicken raised on a vegetarian diet.
So maybe it's just the chicken raised on a vegetarian diet.
I don't know.
That's what chicken looks like whenever it's been raised.
I assume there's vegetables in this.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. Now before I measure out my chicken tenders, I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my stove. Put it on medium to get it warmed up. Some new thing of olive oil. Just enough to kind of cover the bottom. I tend to be overly liberal in my oil use, just because I don't like to have my food stick. So I'm just tilting it so that the oil fully coats the bottom of the pan. Let that warm up. I'm going to put my sausage on a plate, and I'm going to weigh out my chicken tenders and slice them up just like this. Okay, there's that. This is my cutting board that I use for white meat. So anytime I cut chicken, I use this cutting board. Okay, my scale is zeroed out so that I'm not getting the weight of the plate in addition to the weight of the chicken, because I need 1/2 pound. Looks like we're gonna go a little over 1/2 pound so that we have an even amount of tenders. Okay. I'm gonna slice those up just like I did the sausage. I'm using my fillet knife. It's a thinner blade with tighter serrations than a regular like steak knife. And I'm not being real particular about how big these slices are. If I was cooking for smaller children, then I would probably cut them down smaller than this. Pull that piece off, that's gross. That's like a skin piece or fat. But everybody in my family can handle this size that I'm cutting it. So you know your family, you cut it to the size you need. Okay, excuse me, dear. Just gonna throw that on that plate because they're all gonna get cooked together. I'm gonna wash my hands again if I touch that chicken. Chicken juice is gross. I always feel like I get chicken underneath my fingernails when I work with chicken too. All right. Take this out of my cookbook so I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna bring my chicken broth. Sorry.
Oh, pardon me. I'm going to come over here, get in position.
Sure. While I wait for the oil to heat up just a little bit longer, I'm going to clean up my mess. Oil doesn't take too long to heat up, but sometimes it can. Probably should have done this before I washed my hands again. Here I'm touching the chicken again.
It's okay.
Guess I'll wash my hands a third time.
Okay, so I don't remember. Have you used this pot before?
Yeah. I used it for Christmas dinner. I roasted a ham in it.
That's right. You did roast a ham in that.
I did. This is a Christmas gift. It's a deep saucepan / frying pan. It came with a little frying basket, and it also came with a roasting plate, so I can roast ham in it like I did for Christmas. All right, I think it's hot. The way the oil's kind of shrinking in tells me it's probably hot.
Yeah.
Throw all that in. Cookbook says we're gonna cook this for 5 minutes. And I am a very bad guesstimator of time. 5 minutes feels like forever to me, so I always use a timer. Some people are really great at just knowing exactly how long 5 minutes is, but to me 5 minutes feels like 2 hours. So it works better if I just set a timer. So we're gonna saute this, then we're gonna add our veggies, the celery and onion. The celery is sliced, the onion is diced. We're gonna add those and cook that with the chicken for about 8 minutes until the veggies are good and tender. Then we will add the broth, the tomatoes, the rice, the thyme, and the Cajun seasoning, or Creole seasoning. We're gonna bring it to a boil, then we're gonna cover and simmer for 20 minutes. For you, it'll be 3 seconds. You don't have to listen to me talk for 20 minutes. And then we will come back and we will eat dinner. You'll get to see what it looks like all cooked up in the pot, and then we will sit down and eat it.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah. I'm gonna turn it up. I am an impatient cook. Because see, like I said, I already think it's been 5 minutes. It's been a minute and a half. Not even a minute and a half.
Yeah, it's just now starting to sizzle a little bit.
Yeah.
Chicken hasn't much started to turn white.
It has a little.
A little bit.
On the side that's touching the pot. So I chose this recipe because 1, jambalaya sounds delicious. 2, when I looked at the list of ingredients, I said, yeah, I think the kids will eat that. I think I'll eat that. And it was new and different. And I kind of felt like for a while there I was in a cooking rut and making the same thing over and over and over again. So this was so new and so different while still using ingredients that we're mostly familiar with that I thought it would be a good addition to my repertoire. Plus I get to use my new pan and my new spoon because I got all kinds of kitchen gadgets for Christmas. Looks so good already. I'm just excited to try the sausage.
Was that sausage pre-cooked or anything like that?
So the recipe says it should be fully cooked sausage, but I couldn't find anywhere on the package where it said whether it was pre-cooked or not. It gave cooking instructions, so I assumed that maybe it wasn't fully cooked, but it'll be fully cooked by the time this whole recipe is done. Good question though. This makes 9 servings. Each serving is about a cup. One of the many reasons why I love this cookbook is because it tells me how big my serving sizes are supposed to be. So it makes 9 1-cup servings, and each of those 1 cups is 31 grams of carbs, which fits perfectly in my allowance given to me by my dietitian. As always, do not go to me for medical advice. I can help you curb carb cravings, and I can help you cook food that's within your carb allowance, but I cannot tell you what your carb allowance is. This is not a keto diet, though I expect it would work well for somebody doing keto. This is counting my carbs and working in what my doctor told me to do. It smells so good, and it's just chicken right now. But that sausage has like a spiciness that you can smell. I can't tell what it is, but it's good. It smells so good. I just want to stick my face in the pot. Don't stick your face in the pot. Steam burns hurt. But I want to because it smells so good. Okay, so I got 30 seconds left. I'm gonna add in my celery and my onions. And it's okay if you don't wait for 30 seconds. I'm not going to wait for 30 seconds. It's now down to 15, so it's really fine. Okay. Now this cooks for 6 to 8 minutes. I'll set the timer for 8. We'll see how long that lasts. I'm serious. I'm such an impatient cook. And I tend to cook on a higher temperature so I don't have to wait the full length of time when it comes to frying. And really, we're just waiting until the veggies are good and tender. So our next step is to add the broth, the tomatoes, the rice, and the seasonings. We'll bring it to a boil and let it simmer covered. If you are working with a large skillet, like I have a really large cast iron skillet that doesn't come with a lid, you can cheat and use a baking sheet, put that over the top. That'll count as your lid for when you have to cook it covered. I wouldn't recommend using aluminum foil on the stovetop. Like if you were baking it and you needed it covered, then I would say throw some foil on that. But not so much on the stovetop. Just because it gets really hot and you got to take it off and you got to check on it and peek at it and stir. And so the foil would get too in the way.
Yeah. Hey, tell us about how you're stirring. With sauteing like this?
Yeah, so I'm not stirring. I'm more like, I guess, folding. Like I'm picking it up and flipping it over, and picking it up and flipping it over. And just kind of also like pushing things around too. That was a good question. Like I don't even think about like that, because I would just say just stir it. And also you can walk away. Like if you have other things you need to do, dishes you want to wash while you're waiting, you could just let this cook on its own. Most dishes do not need constant attention. They don't need constant stirring and moving. Because I've not made this before, I'm a little bit more attentive to it than I would normally be. Especially once I put the rice in, I'm not going to just leave it for 22 minutes, or however long I said it was supposed to be, 20 minutes. I'm going to check back on it every few minutes to stir it, just because it's rice, and sometimes rice sticks to the bottom, and cleaning rice off the bottom of a pot is never any fun. I mean, cleaning pots is never fun to begin with, but when you have to clean the rice off, it's even worse. So normally I would just walk away and let this cook for 5 minutes on its own.
Yeah, I noticed with stirring more often, it lets out heat better, so you can cook it a little higher if you keep on stirring. But if you want it to sit, you need to turn it down some, because it's not going to get turned around and the heat stays inside, probably burns to the bottom. Am I right about that?
I don't know. I've never really thought about it. It just kind of is like intuitive to me if something needs to be stirred or not. I guess that makes sense. Okay.
It's kind of how I think about it. Just imagine what's happening.
I mean, it makes sense. Yeah,
Anyway.
We'll go with you on that. Now I have something to think about.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, we've got another 4 minutes sauteing.
Yeah, well, 2 to 4, because it was 6 to 8.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I'm checking, and the veggies are getting tender-ish, but they're still pretty bright. It's like the celery is still really bright and colorful, so it's not fully tender just yet.
I can imagine in stuffing, celery can get really clear.
Yeah. That you're usually sauteing in butter, and sauteing in butter tends to work a little bit differently than, sauteing in oil. So I think it might have to do with it, but I could be wrong. And as I'm stirring, I am double checking that my chicken is white all the way around. It's probably not cooked all the way through yet. We got a long time to go before it's all done. But there's definitely no more pink showing on the sides of the chicken. It smells good. I'm gonna like this dinner, I can tell.
This is part of the reason why you're such a good cook. You can try a new recipe, even use all kinds of new seasonings, new meats even, and it's turning out great.
It doesn't smell spicy. Kind of tangy. On the sour side of tart, but not fully sour. This is gonna be interesting. If I keep sniffing it, I'm gonna sneeze.
What is it?
It's Tony Cheshires or Cheshires, I don't know. The original Creole seasoning, great on everything. Oh, I've never used it before. We're gonna use it for the first time today. All right, it has been 6 minutes. This is about as long as I can wait. So I'm going to add in my broth. This is 2 3/4 cups of chicken broth. And in all honesty, it's actually like 2 1/2 cups and then 1/4 cup of water because that was all the chicken broth I had. So I just added enough water to make up the extra liquid.
Oh yeah, you can do that. It's
Yay.
totally okay.
And then there's a can of diced tomatoes, no salt added, unseasoned.
Now notice how all the sizzling stopped.
Yeah, because the chicken broth wasn't hot.
Right. It's got to be heated up too.
Yeah.
You didn't turn that down, any?
Nope, it's still on high. Okay, then I'm gonna add, this is a 1.5 cups of long grain white rice.
Just straight out of a bag. Just,
Yes. And then a teaspoon of thyme. A little bit more than a teaspoon of thyme. I love these little glass bottles. They're so cute, but my teaspoon doesn't fit. And then can I have that seasoning you stole from me?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I guess The only thing I can really identify in the smell is maybe some paprika and I don't know what.
I don't know. So a teaspoon of this too. Dump that in.
It smells good though.
It does smell good.
It's not super spicy like anything Mexican. It's Mexican's filled with cumin and chili powder and
Yeah, this is a wholly different type of seasoning, and it's spicy in its own regard. The Creole seasoning smells more tangy, like I said, so it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. Okay, we're gonna let this come up to a boil. I'm gonna clean up while we do this.
Things are starting to move.
That doesn't mean it's ready yet.
Nope.
Okay, you probably noticed that I clean up while I cook. That way I don't have to clean up after I cook. I can go about my day, do what I have to do. So this isn't done. It's not considered boiling until it continues boiling after I stir it. So it's got to sit for a little while longer and get hot enough. While I continue the cleanup process.
Right, because the ingredients on the bottom of the pot, where the pot is hot, is of course near boiling temperature, but the rest of it on top is not. All that heat has to spread through.
And I don't know if this comes through on the video or not, but the surface is kind of wiggling, kind of like you imagine like a witch's cauldron. But when I give it a stir, it stops. But now it's getting back up to that wiggling point faster than it was just a minute ago.
Give it a stir again.
And see, now there's little bubbles starting to pop up. So it's coming back faster. Now we've got a rolling boil going in a couple places. But it disappears when I stir it. A true rolling boil won't disappear when you stir it. It will continue to boil around contents being shifted.
Like we keep interrupting it.
Yeah, but it's just testing it to see if it's there or not. It's almost there. It's really close. And the time it takes might be different for your stovetop versus my stovetop. All stovetops are different. If you had this exact same stove in your house, it still would be different because where my house is located is different from where your house is located. All sorts of things factor into that. Even your altitude and your humidity level can factor into that. Yeah, this is just about ready to have the lid put over and the timer turned on. I think I'm gonna lean towards the 15 minutes rather than the 20 minutes. Just because it's new and I don't want to overcook it. Okay, look, you can see those rolling boils are still continuing even as I stir. Now it's ready. We're gonna put the lid on her. We're gonna reduce heat so you don't turn it off, you reduce your heat. So I try to reduce it to about 2 or 4. I won't go all the way down to low, but right in between 2 and 4 is usually pretty good.
Again, get to know your stovetop, because this one, the heat kind of disappears on low on this one, but it can still cook really hot.
Yeah, every stovetop is different. So my timer's going, my lid is on, my heat is reduced. It's gonna cook for 15 to 20 minutes. We will see you back in that amount of time. All right, we're back. I've got 10 seconds left on the timer. Lifting up. So always lift your lid away from you to the side or to the back so that you don't lift it forward and get that steam in your face. Steam burns are the worst.
Okay.
So, if you could remember before, you couldn't even see the rice. It was all on the bottom. Now it's all big and fluffy. Look at that. It smells good.
You poured in all that chicken broth, but then it's just gone. All up inside of it all.
Yep. So recipe says let it stand for 5 minutes. Standing means with the burner off and the lid still on. So I'm gonna bring my lid back over. Ooh, hot, 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 hot. I should have grabbed my pot holder. That was hot. So 5 more minutes on this to let it stand. And then we're gonna make some bowls. All right, my timer is officially beeped. It's been 5 minutes. This is all done. Can give it a good stir. Look at that. Doesn't that look so yummy? So yummy. Okay, 1 cup is a serving. And my, excuse me, dear.
No, come over here.
My 1 cup is in the sink. So we're gonna use a 1/4 cup plus 3/4 cup because we can do math. 3/4 plus 1/4 equals 4/4, which equals 1 whole cup. 3/4 plus 1 baby quarter equals 1 whole cup. That's your serving size. Doesn't that look delicious? I can't wait to eat it. Yum! If you guys liked this recipe, if you want to see more recipes, hit that subscribe button. That's how you're going to get notified when I post new videos. Also, don't forget to follow my blog. There'll be a link in the comments to that. I put tips about healthy living and yoga and meal planning and homeschooling and all the crazy stuff that we do in our household. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'm going to go eat.